No, it was on.
You can turn that part off.
And I unmuted, and then everybody.
Laurie, once that's figured out, then we have to figure out the sound.
The problem though, it looks like. it's-
Everybody.
Oh, yeah. That. Okay. Nope. Okay, does that work? No, we're still. Yeah. Shouldn't it just go through the? Yes, we're on Zoom.
Oh, you, now it's working now. I'm on my phone.
Oh, yeah, you need to turn it off your phone. Turn your sound all the way down on the phone. Okay,
I was trying to see, because I'm on,
sure, you wanna see, yeah, and what I can do is I can leave the room and jump onto the Zoom and make sure that the sound is working. So, okay.
it's not working.
Okay. Outside, and I'm gonna just check the sound. Okay, thanks, Elise. Okay.
Yeah, it's working now. Great.
Start all over.
Yeah, it's working now.
Want to say it was working now?
Yes,
Okay, are we good?
we should.
Hey, Lori.
Okay,
I'll call you if I need you.
I'm a little closer from home.
I'm sorry.
It's okay, it's no big deal.
Thank you.
Done before, and they all know that.
Bye.
Mhm.
We ready to start again? Let's begin again.
Good morning, welcome to the January 31st, 2026 West Contra Costa Unified School District Board Retreat. The meeting is called to order at 9:19 a.m. Para acceder a la traducción en Zoom, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Si se encuentra quien Michelle Obama y necesita audífonos para la traducción, puede recogerlos en la esquina tercera. The board is about to go into closed session, but before we do, we are here to listen to any public comment on closed session items. Individuals wishing to speak on closed session items listed. If you are in the auditorium and you haven't done so already, please submit a WCC public comment card, which you can find on the entryway table, or if you are participating via Zoom, individuals will need to raise their hand in the Zoom app. If you are accessing the meeting by phone, please press *9. The time allotted to speak is 2 minutes. The total time allotted is 1 hour. Speaking time should not be transferred from one person to another. There is also no substitution of speakers. We alternate between group comment and in-person comment. The public comment period is a safe space where diverse viewpoints may be expressed civilly without interruption or intimidation. Please listen attentively to each speaker's comment and respect their time as if it were your own. Be open to another viewpoint if one is offered. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. The items listed on the closed session agenda for today are public employee performance and evaluation. Is there any public comment?
No public comment at the time.
Okay, well, we will adjourn into closed session and we shall be back at 10 a.m.
We should be fine. It's back to recording. We are back.
Good morning, welcome to the January 31st, 2026 West Contra Costa Unified School District Board Retreat. I am calling open session to order at 10:15 a.m. Bienvenidos esta mañana 31 de enero para nuestro retiro de la mesa directiva del oeste del Para acceder a la traducción en Zoom, haga clic en el icono de globo en la parte inferior de la pantalla. Si se encuentra en Obama y necesitan audífonos para traducción, puede recogerlos en la esquina trasera del auditorio. In a few minutes, we will begin public comment on the agenda item. Members of the public are invited to speak to the board on any matter that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the West Contra Costa Unified School District, but it's not on the agenda. Please prepare now for public comment. If you are here in the auditorium and would like to make public comment, please fill out and submit WCC USB public comment card. You can find the item on the table and the entry hallway. If you are participating via Zoom, please raise your hand in the Zoom app prior to the beginning of this item on the agenda. If participating by Zoom, press *9. After your comment card has been turned in, the cards are placed in order received and we will call speakers one at a time, alternating between public comment here at Obama and one on Zoom. Public comment generally lasts 1 hour. The time allotted for each speaker is 2 minutes. In the meantime, we are moving on to the rest of our opening procedures. B2, the Pledge of Allegiance. If you are moving and able to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please do people. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all. Moving on to the land and native body and culture. We recognize that we are presently on the lands of the Chochenyo or Wetmut, Cherokee, Ohlone peoples and acknowledge them as the first inhabitants of the land we currently occupy. Labor and body acknowledgement. I acknowledge that the burden of environmental exploitation and systematic injustice falls upon the labor of Black and brown bodies in the buildings of this country and its institutions. I remember that Black and brown bodies were born and died working this land against their will for generations. I also acknowledge the continued contributions of the labor of survivors over the centuries to today, of all immigrant labor, including voluntary, involuntary, forced and undocumented peoples of the building of what we refer to as the United States. Our author, Dr. Rochelle Rogers Ard. The West Contra Costa Unified District School Board Anti-Racism Statement. The governing board is committed to the work of anti-racism, the conscious and active effort to identify challenges and correct racial inequities in the system and institutions within our schools and community. Racism, explicit or implicit, stands in direct conflict to fundamental principles of district education. To carry district education into the future, we recognize that we must continue to review and reflect on the roots of racism and develop new ideas to meet the time. Unjust ideas and policies and the racial inequity they produce have shaped us, our schools, and society. The board strives to uncover unconscious biases and practice anti-racism as individuals, as a board, and as board members. We challenge ourselves to persist through the discomfort necessary for growth and learning. We deepen our listening and our examination of racism, oppression, and develop strong understanding of how personal experiences and failing to fit into a larger picture of continual oppression. Each member of the governing board individually and collectively is responsible for creating, nurturing an anti-racism learning environment where students, staffs, and community partner is respected and valued member of the district community. The governing board is uniquely positioned and it is our responsibility to identify and dismantle racist ideas and inequity policies in ourselves and across the district. Therefore, we commit to supporting anti-racist policies, programs, and practices for our children's education and well-being while building strong and inclusive school communities. The board commits to holding each board member accountable towards these goals and moving the work of the anti-racism forward. We also commit to holding the West Contra Costa Unified School District staff, students, and community to living these standards as anti-racism in our school. Board approved March 20th, 2024. Could we go to roll call now, Superintendent Flynn?
Yes. Trustees The Folds,
Good morning, everyone present.
trustee Reckler,
Good morning, I'm here.
trustee Hernandez,
Good morning. Here, sorry.
clerk Gonzalez,
Good morning, President.
board president Ivana.
Good morning, everyone present. And we'll be, changing some things on our agenda to add, item, report ratification of closed session. Is there a report out for public, from closed session?
There's no report from president.
Thank you. And we'll be adding, public comment as well. So members of the public are invited to speak to the board on any matter within the subject matter jurisdiction of the West Contra Costa Unified School District, but not on tonight's agenda. Public comment will last approximately 1 hour. The time allotted to each speaker is 2 minutes. Should additional speakers remain at the conclusion of 1 hour, public comment may be extended. The time allotted per speaker after the first hour is generally 1 minute. Individuals wishing to speak, please submit a WCCUSD public comment card, or if participating via Zoom, individuals will need to raise their hand in the Zoom app prior to the beginning of the item on the agenda. If you are calling by phone, press *9. Speaking time should not be transferred from one person to another. There is no substitution of speakers. Speakers can also make public comment again for each discussion item or action item on the agenda after staff presentations. The public will have 10 minutes per item and 1 minute per speaker. The same protocols recited above. The public comment period is a safe space where diverse viewpoints may be expressed in a civil manner without interruption of intimidation. Please listen attentively to each speaker's comment and respect their time at the podium as if it were your own. Be open to a different point of view if one is offered. Due to the Brown Act, board members cannot discuss items that are not on the agenda and do not usually respond to items presented in public comment. Is there any public comment?
No public comment at the time.
Okay, so we'll be moving on to, agenda review and adoption. Was there anything that you guys would want to move on the agenda? Okay, seeing none, then we will proceed with the agenda as following. Now moving on to item C. West Contra Costa USG Board Governance. Item C1, approve appointments of the Board of Trustees to committees. And I think that's my item. So, would you mind putting it on the screen or? So, I sent out an email earlier this week asking for responses from our trustees around committees that they would be interested in participating in. Rosa tallied the responses up, added them onto the screen, and I have based that to make my appointments. So should I go through my appointments? So my appointment goes as follows, given the answers we received. So for the ASAT African American Student Advisory Team. We have trustee Gonzalez Hoy. CAC Community Advisory Committee for Special Education, trustee Hernandez. The DLCAP, the District Global Control Accountability Committee, Smith Folds. MDEC, the Multilingual District Advisory Committee, trustee Anyana. The DLI, no specific. All Student Congress and Student Trustee Mentor, Smith Folds. CBOC, Citizen Fund Oversight Committee, regular and alternate Hernandez. CBOC Application Review Committee, we have Hernandez, and we have an alternate of Inyana. The Citizen Oversight Committee for Parcel Tax, we have Gonzalez Hoy as appointed, regular as an alternate. District Budget Engagement Committee, we have Hernandez, and we have alternate Inyana. Contra Costa County School Board Association, we have Inyana, alternate Hernandez. Community Schools City District Partnership Committee, we have Inyana, alternate Gonzalez Hoy. Okay, well, Inyana and Gonzalez Hoy. 7-Eleven Committee, we have Hernandez and regular. Solutions, Smith Folds and Hernandez. Governance Committee, we have Gonzalez Hoy and regular. And Anti-Racism Committee, we have Inyana and Hernandez. Trustee regular,
So do you want someone for the DLI committee? I haven't seen the meeting. I don't know if I may not be in the loop on that, but do you want someone to do
well,
that?
we would want to fill every committee, we just didn't have any responses to that one.
Okay, I'm happy to take that.
So then, can we move, could we put trustee regular as the DLI?
Maybe your alternate.
And Gonzalez Hoy as an alternate?
We can talk offline about my appointments because of where I didn't send anything in.
Well, I think based on our previous conversations, even though we didn't receive a response, president is at purview to appoint, and if you decide that you choose not to be, then you're welcome to speak up, and then we're able to find replacements for you at this point.
Right, so we can either talk now, or we can talk
Well, we can-
offline about it,
But we
but.
could talk now, because we can,
So you need to find replacements for the committees that I'm on. I attend all of these meetings anyway. Every last one of these meetings I attend, so, but you can find replacements for the committees that you have me named for. I'm complete.
So trustee Smith, you want to serve on any committee?
Same thing I did last year. I didn't serve on any committees last year, but I attended all the committees. And I'm gonna do the same thing this year. I didn't serve on, again, it's the same thing that happened last year. The one committee that we were both on last year never started, the Solutions Committee. So again, being on or not on these committees doesn't prevent me from showing up to them, and I show up to them anyway. So no, I don't want to be on any other committee.
what I think that's the whole purpose, that if we know that there's a representative that's gonna show up, then that kind of divides the work between the group versus not having anyone appointed to any specific committee. And if you're showing up anyways, then what's the hesitation from?
It's my decision. I don't want to be on any committee, but again, I show up to all the committees.
You don't challenge for it as workload or everyone, so if you're gonna be there. I mean, we had this challenge when you and I were in leadership.
Absolutely.
There sign up and we had to do more, so.
And we have to go to every committee, and for the past 5 years, I've been doing the same amount of work and going to every committee, showing up to everything. But this locks me into having to do something, and if I have something that I have to come up, I'm not going to let something fall. So somebody else can sign up to do it. If I'm there, that's a great thing. And I typically do show up to there, but I have personal commitments that I have to attend to this year that I'm going to attend to, including my health and including my children, one of my children being a senior. So this, for me, and I'm going into more detail than for warranted, someone else can sign up to be on these committees. And again, I typically attend all of them anyway. I'm complete.
We remove trustee Smith Bowles from every committee appointment. So we need, what is it?
I'm happy to sit in on DL count if somebody wants that.
Okay, so could we put trustee regular and the LCAPs? And then we have trustee regular for all student congress. And student trustee mentor,
Oh,
Gonzalez Hoy for student congress.
Can I have an alternate? Because sometimes I can't attend a meeting.
What's the time commitment on that and then?
It's once a month during the day, which has been my challenge.
There's two meetings. It's one evening meeting with the executive group and then an all-day meeting during the day. That's it.
You know when once a month? Maybe on Friday.
They're not typically on Friday, no, but they're at Dejan and they start at about 6 o'clock. They last an hour and a half when they have all the students there and they are now working on. Because once again, I attend those meetings, they're working on with UC Berkeley. They're having a work in conjunction with UC Berkeley to do a Y plan. So it's really interesting time to be involved in El Segundo does a Y plan, somebody else in the district, that does a Y plan, but they're doing an all student congress Y plan. And then at the St. Pablo building next to Helms, they'll do a mini conference during the day. That's not every month, but they'll do a mini conference where they'll have somebody come in from the state, or they not do the state, come in and do their mini lessons on video. And I attend that, and that's usually from 9 to 9:30.
It's directly one of my alternate.
Well, I guess if that's a daytime ticket, I could probably manage that, because my flexibility in the daytime is better than, you know, what I mean? So go ahead and put me for the all student congress.
Yeah, it looks like they meet for January, they met, Monday, the 12th from 6 to 7, and then they had a full day meeting at the San Pablo Community Center Thursday, the 15th, all day from 9 to 3.
And we need to, another appointment for solution. No interest, I will take the week.
It's just an all day meeting, usually during the week.
It will not be all day, I promise you that. Be a couple of hours.
And that's you,
Can't,
Well, anyways, we can talk about it later,
let's talk,
but.
because I do want to bring solutions back, and I've been
Right,
trying.
I do it, but we can talk about it, okay,
Okay, and Yana,
get done, right?
Unions day. Refused, a couple of our unions refused this fall, so. We may be in a place for that at all.
I've spoken to a couple of them.
okay, so I think we're good with those changes. Everybody, trustee regular,
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment on 7-Eleven, which is, do we think we can really do that with staffing and facilities? I just hope so. If we could bring
I
back,
think that we
you know,
can,
finishing that up.
that's the goal.
There are applications in the queue waiting for people to come onto the 7-Eleven committee. Maureen Toms is one. There is, I can't call the name out now that I remember, but I had a meeting.
Right to join.
I had a meeting with that kind of an offshoot of the housing committee, and they are they have applications in the queue from last year, so if those applications are processed, then you may have a quorum to be able to restart the 7-Eleven committee, but it would be a restart.
Yeah, and people reached out to me too. I don't know if they ever submitted applications, but I could I could re-encourage those people to.
Melissa, I know, have been working on it. I have had conversations recently with Ellen, and she's ready to step into that role to see it through from facilities.
And hopefully it's not a big lift. I spoke to Mr. Sanders a few weeks ago, and he said you just need one meeting with quorum.
Yeah.
That's it, so it shouldn't be a big lift, because then they already have everything done. It's just that they need to just vote on the recommendation to send to the board, which they were never able to do, so.
Well, they have to have their
You gotta have.
community.
So you have to have that.
Yeah.
Just not like I said, but it's fine.
Yeah, there may be some retreading that they have to do, unless you get seasoned people who,
Already know the
Right.
ins and outs,
Yeah.
but there's level setting that has to be done from the recommendations of the student that came in and said, this is what I believe the property should be done with the property.
so there is some more things that need to be done, but it's not. Yeah, it's gonna take some work. But as we've seen how long this process has taken.
Yeah.
I think it's just to get it started.
Yeah,
Step one,
get the application process and those who were in those committees, if asked, they wanna come back and have them reapply, I'm not sure how. I know there was folks.
Okay, that was my,
You- yeah.
I'm just really hopeful that there's anything I can do to move that ahead, I'm happy to.
Are you guys able to share this document with us?
Well, I think we could clean it up, because we sent out a cleanup version, so it doesn't have all this clean out version, and just, I know we also have the graduations at the bottom. Could we move this clean up so that we could go through the graduations in case anyone needs to make some adjustments? So this year, most of the graduations will be happening at, Contra Costa College.
mhm.
So they're all gonna be as.
Not all of them. So the majority of the graduation will be at Contra Costa College.
Do we know which ones now or?
Yeah. So I'm on the graduation committee, so Deanne's is gonna be at CC, Pinol's gonna be at CC.
Hold on, sorry.
So Deanza,
It's on the cover.
Deanza, Hercules, Pinol, Richmond,
Okay.
Kennedy.
Could you send us that in a better format?
I have it as a picture, so yes, I can get it to you guys. It'll be on this, and that's just a screenshot of it. Yes, I can get that.
Thank you, I just can't read the
I was
time.
like,
I
It
think it
looks,
has a time on here.
Oh, it's on the.
Yeah, it's on the,
That's incorrect, yeah, okay.
yeah, so over here, just a screenshot, but if you see the area 4, area 1, area 2, area 3,
Thank you.
it has a time, right next to it.
Did you get?
it was in that.
Thank you.
So Elisa will be at the Enza High School, Middle College will be at the Mill Valley.
We also have everything.
Vista Mill, also a lot of Mill Valley. as well. Greenville will be at the Mill Valley as well.
Are you
So those are the two
still
locations.
transition?
For the most part, yes, El Cerrito will be at El Cerrito. About at.
I just,
you did it over here.
so they had also for transition, there was a morning event, that was Hernandez and they can't show up, so could we change the trustee to Enyana?
Which one is that?
For transition.
The transition program, the June 11th.
And that'll be at transition.
Yeah. I got it.
And then have all the dates been publicly announced?
No,
Not yet.
No.
No. The way the graduation committee meets is we meet back in October, and then there's a pre-meeting with all the, principals or their designee, and then they flesh out the dates that they want and the time that they want, then they have to go back to their sites. And when they go back to their site, they have to ask their sites, are they in agreement with that? Is there any conflict? And they come back for again, another meeting in November. Then we have a meeting in December. It has to be board approved before then it's then published. So this would be that, they have a conversation with the superintendent. This would be that approval. Once that goes through, then they start publishing it out to their entire community. Some schools jump the gun, but it has to wait, it's supposed to wait for board approval. So now you should be seeing very soon, everybody publishing on their PTA pages, their site pages, what have you, the dates. Because they're locked in once we make it.
I don't remember these ever coming for board approval.
Yeah, they come like this,
That's the board approval when you appoint the trustee.
because we lock in the dates. We lock in the dates and we lock in the approval. They came a couple of years ago as just in the agenda. They came to that in the agenda when we started the committee about 3 years ago.
Does the board need to take action?
Yes, that's really it.
so do we have any, further questions from the board? I guess that why we. Okay, do we have any public comment on this?
No public comment.
Okay, so do we? You want to make any motion?
I move to, accept the committee liaison, assignments as, shown on the spreadsheet, and I further, move that the graduation schedule and trustee assignments are approved by the board.
Second.
So moved by Regular, second by Gonzalez Foy. Trustee Gonzalez Foy,
Yes, sorry.
trustee Hernandez.
Yeah.
Trustee Regular,
Yes.
trustee Smith Folds,
Opposed, yes?
trustee Yanas, a yes. Motion passes. Now we'll be moving on to item C2, adopt revised board calendar for the 2026-2027 school year. I think that is,
We have them in paper, but I'm not sure.
I don't think you're March
trustee Regular, do you?
Yeah, I'd like to put a different motion on the floor, which will be probably a little controversial, that we, move to just, one meeting with the CBOC in September. And if somebody seconds, I can tell you why.
Second, just agree.
So I think that that would give them time to get organized around the things that they need to get organized around, website, finishing annual reports, reporting within the district, and I feel like that amount of time would give enough space to get those things accomplished. And that, as the liaison, I can work with the superintendent on any issues that there are, and just to be efficient with staff and, they're short-handed and, there's not a lot of manpower back there, maybe it's just one less thing that people have to do, so that was my suggestion. Also, that in the policy, the new policy that we approved, which I still someday would love to update, there are 2 required meetings, there are no 2 required meetings anymore. So,
Trustee Gonzalez,
Thank you. Do you think that the CBSC would be okay with that?
I'm sorry, what?
Do you think that the CBSC would be okay with that?
I don't know. I don't know.
do I have to put up a motion to retain the original minutes?
Yeah, so you could just ask for,
Because
you just ask the motion will probably die, so you could just ask for a vote. If nobody votes, then, or they can vote no.
When you said it. Do we have to vote on that one and then vote on the original?
You can just put in, if you wanna do your motion, you can just do your
Well, my
motion.
motion would
We
be
will
to,
vote first.
to stick to the twice a year. And if I get a second, then I will tell you you are.
And I'll second your motion.
Just because we want to know why.
I believe that having the 2 meetings a year, would, if used correctly, will give us the time to actually have a check-in. And I think if we're doing the 1 meeting, right now, the CBOC already isn't, managing their time effectively with how they should be moving, so I think if we could start standardizing some of these things, so like, hey, we're meeting here, and where are you in the process, because you know that we're gonna meet over here, and by that time, things should be where they need to be, so we can start some of those conversations versus just meeting once a year, then there's no room to shift stuff if needed. And I think that's my hesitation, if I have to wait a whole year to then have another conversation, then to me, that seems like a problem.
The CBOC is an independent body, so it's very, we have to be very careful where we tread in the kind of oversight management part of that. I think that CBOC has a meeting, they have their meeting once a month. They get thorough on meetings, those meetings are open for everybody to attend, not just the person that's the liaison on the board, but if you attend those meetings, you can kind of see where they're going in their path. They've had some hard times making forums sometimes when it comes to a vote, so they have their own way that they need to navigate. I don't know too much what this 2 meetings would do. I brought back the 2 meetings with the CBOC because I thought that was in our compliance. But if that's not in our compliance and it says it compliant wise, we just have to have 1, then I think that 1 needs to be very clearly outlined and expectations when those agendas are made. The expectation is very clear. This is where we start and this is where we want to end when that meeting is done. That can be done with 2 meetings, or that can be done with 1 meeting. I think the joint meetings have to be tightened up. And we spend too much time in those joint meetings trying to find out where everybody is instead of this is where we need to go. I'm complete.
Trustee Redler?
Yes, so, it's my feeling, I don't know what the CBOC feels or what anybody else feels, but it's my feeling that what the 2 bodies should be doing is they're supposed to write an annual report as to whether the district complied with Prop 39. That is their purpose to do that. And, we haven't seen it. We can't really force them, we can't force them to do that, but that is their charge. And so the last few meetings have just been not on that. And I just feel that they need the time to get that together and then to check in, but you can have your liaison do the check-ins and communicate with the superintendent on the reports, on the website, that's, and to me, that's the job of the liaison, to let the superintendent know, hey, this still isn't happening, what are you doing on your side to get these reports going, who's working with them? Website, what are you doing, so to me, that feels like the job of the liaison, and then the 2 bodies are like, okay, did the district meet their obligation under the law? And so the last few meetings I felt have just been like reaction from problems that do need to get solved, for sure.
And I think every liaison needs to report back to the board. That's the whole point of having liaisons go to these committees, is to report back to where everybody is understanding what happens in these other junctures. I think that's something that's been missing in this board. Nobody reports back, either to the superintendent or to the board itself. I think that's a recalibrating of the board and how the board works. I'm complete.
And we could put in, to follow up on that, we could put in a quarterly liaison, this is what we did, this is what they need, this is what, is like to improve communication among staff, so, and Mr. Duncan.
Sure.
So we'll vote on the second motion. That's for, but yeah, the second motion was the two meetings of the year. Starting with Gonzalez Hoy.
So I'm gonna abstain, I'm just gonna say it, but because I am not sure if I can even attend the 18th, so I'm just gonna abstain on that.
Aaron Hernandez,
I'm fine with it. Oh, yeah.
yes.
Oh, no, my committee's gonna. hate me.
Smith votes no.
So,
Sure.
and what do you vote?
Or this is my motion, so. Yeah.
Ooh.
So it fails.
So it failed.
Failed. Now we're back to the first motion, which is one committee meeting a year. Gonzalez Hoy,
Abstain.
Hernandez,
Yes.
So mine was to cancel March and to only have September,
Yeah.
and, oh, yes.
Smith votes, yes, and I am one no.
So it
The
passes.
vote, motion passes.
And then, just so that you know, like, this can always be represented if there's an issue or a schedule.
The CDOC also has an opportunity to come and speak at the standing reports. The standing reports are another way for the CDOC to come and speak to the board outside of these joint meetings. So that again was brought back.
Good point.
Now we are,
I would. Question.
It's been off.
yeah, yeah,
For the March meeting. I won't be here the 25th. I couldn't join online, but I'll be in Mexico. So,
If it falls under the criteria that you can, you just try and sing. Unless you're trying to get it, but
no, I'm just, yeah, cause I'm gonna see my mommy, so. Love ya, but
Are there still opportunities for hybrid meetings now, or is that completely gone?
So, yes, you can have hybrid meetings, but we should read closely what the new Brown Act update is, so
majority of us have to be in person.
more majority have to be in person. Okay.
That's still the same?
Yeah, so only 2 could be online, just in case. Yeah. And on the other.
is it still the same one that Redditor sent to us?
No, we got the new one.
No,
It's changed.
and I ordered you all,
we just got to update it on.
So the criteria, so the emergency criteria, or all the other criteria has
a
changed.
little bit, yeah. But I ordered that from Gonzalo Smith, it's one of my last acts, and
Well, we got a digital copy from Lozano Smith. And I think I said it was against the full board. Okay, so now, are we ready to move on, or do we need, does everyone wanna take
Yeah.
a date? Ready?
Break.
Okay, so, before we move on to the next item, let's take a 5-minute break and then we'll come back to, item 2, 3, the anti-racist training.
At 11 o'clock.
I think that's at 12 o'clock. Go, hold on.
Okay.
No, turn that.
All is back on, we're getting ready to complete the meeting.
Yeah.
It's on?
Are you ready?
Yes. Are we ready?
Somebody
has to mute.
mute your audio for us.
Mute and then, yeah.
It's good now.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. We are bringing this meeting back. into
Oh, you
session.
went back to. Why?
What's wrong?
Back into.
Her slide went back to. There it is.
So there goes, there goes.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Okay.
Okay, we're ready.
Well, good morning, everyone. We are bringing this meeting back into session. We are starting off with item C3, the anti-racism training and understanding the local content. And we will begin this by maybe having quick introductions around the table. So I will start and we'll go around. My name is Guadalupe Llana and I am the board president. Yeah, so
Hi, good morning. Nice to meet you. It's also, I'm the clerk of the board.
Summer Stigler, Associate Superintendent at TK. Cynthia Hernandez.
Sean Richard Chapman, CEO of National Green Project.
Lisa Lasky, also with the National Equity Project.
Chantal Smith, Director of School Climate.
Leslie Marconi, trustee, area 5.
Martine Blake, Director of Family and Community Engagement.
Jimmy Smith Falls, WCC USD trustee, elected out of Area 1, Hercules, Pinot, and a sliver of Richmond.
Hello, everyone. I'm Cheryl Cotton, Superintendent of West Contra Costa Unified School District.
I'm Nancy Ortiz, administrative technician.
Thank goodness for you already.
well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. So I think we can get started. So we'll move on to the presentation. And thank you for being here with us.
Yes.
Can I just do just a quick frame? I'm so excited, that the, Executive Director and Regional Director from the National Equity Project were available and able to join us for this conversation. I hope that this will be the start of a conversation. I see that Dallas Coy approached me recently and said, you know, I think during the retreat, we should talk about racist, anti-bias and training for the board. And I said, absolutely. And let's think about how do we connect the work that the board is doing to the challenges that we are facing as a district and to the ways that we support our students, our staff, and our community. And so I'm really excited about the very thoughtful work we have partnered as a district, partnering with National Equity Project, but including and pulling in our K-12 operations, our family and community engagement, as well as our positive school climate teams to really look at this more deeply. And so I'm just so appreciative and so excited about this work and look forward to this being the beginning of a conversation, the beginning of work done.
Thank you. Thank you. So, yeah, I'll just reiterate that it is our honor and delight to be with you. Our organization, the National Equity Project, has actually known yours for quite a long time. We have had several formal engagements going into 2017. And many of your educators and leaders have joined us for various professional development opportunities over the years. So, and we're going to be very excellent. So we care very much about.
I just have to add one more thing.
Yeah, please.
I actually worked with National Equity Project, so this was work that I did like, what, years ago? Yeah, a long time ago, but, and had the opportunity to work closely with both of these amazing leaders. And so, again, I'm just having my moment over here to be able to know that this work is in full circle and the potential that National Equities Project expertise and experience can bring to the work that we need to do on challenges that we're facing right now. Just, okay, I'm done. I'll stop. I won't interrupt again.
You can interrupt at any time. So we are here together today until 4 o'clock, right? Test. Yes, so 1 o'clock and, maybe we'll finish at 12:58, no problem, okay. But promise, I would like to, I would like to advance my slide. Sorry. Let me try that. Okay. To ask Superintendent Cotton to read this quote out loud is the very best quote done today.
The future doesn't take from irrationally. The future doesn't take form irrationally, even though it feels that way. The future comes from where we are now. The future won't change until we look thoughtfully at our present. We have sufficient human capacity to think and reflect together, to care about one another, to act courageously, to reclaim the future. Margaret Wheatley, Turning to One Another.
Thank you. That just represents the spirit in which we come to you today. We have, I am one of 2 regional directors for the state of California. And we also have a team that works out of Chicago in the Midwest. So we really are a national organization. And that just means we have the honor and opportunity to be in lots of systems across this here land right now. And so we understand the moment that you're sitting in. We always tell folks, you are very special, but you're not unique in the challenges and the opportunities that you're sitting in and the leadership that's required. So we have brought a packet of some things we want to refer to today. After today, we'll email to you the agenda, the deck, there's links in there. There's more resources than you probably want at this point. But anything that we refer to today, you can have. The second thing I'll say is we come to you with great humility and respect for who you are, what you know, the leadership that you are currently and have provided in the past. So everything we have is really an offering and some considerations that we think might be helpful to you in this moment as you as a board and staff are faced with some really grueling decisions you have to make, right? So again, great humility and respect for who you are, and what we have is a set of provocations and an invitation for you to do your own thinking. We're not trying to push anything or sell anything, okay? Okay, that said, extra. Do an first invitation to you to think about, boy, if your system had a headline right now, what would it say? And I'll give you a hot minute to think about that and just invite, as the spirit moves you to say it out loud. What's the headline? As the spirit moves you.
I think the headline would be Somebody Lying.
Somebody's lying. Thank you for getting us started.
You want me to go deeper this week?
Oh, that's a great headline. Thanks for getting us started. On fire. What a circus. What a circus.
We love to assume.
We love to assume.
Trendsetters.
Excuse me.
Trendsetters.
Change must happen.
Change must happen. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna invite, the staff members also to join in this conversation at any time as well, so. And I'm just looking at, is that Bouncy Castle behind you?
No, it's a Papa Tim.
Okay. All right, so let me continue on. In full disclosure, this is who you're sitting with today. We are the National Equity Project, and we've been around for 30 years in one form or another, and that's what we are up to. And we have turned ourselves inside out many times, including late, to say, all right, National Equity Project, what is ours to do in such a time as this? And so one thing that has not changed is our commitment to changing the trajectory for young people and families who have been underserved, not served, and indeed harmed by many of our institutions, school being this one, right? So we stay strongly tethered to a vision and a set of commitments. And then our strategies, as yours, do in any system, shift and change and morph, depending on what we're saying.
I'll just add
Please.
one thing to that. Part of what we hope, even in this very short conversation that we're gonna have with you, is that you experience some like deep and core beliefs that we operate with. And a couple of them to name, I think, both because of this time and the context that you all are actually trying to read and navigate through. One core belief of ours is that the change, that creating more just and liberating systems is possible. Right? We operate with deep hope that people actually can transform the environments so that they actually serve every child well, right? And our bet, I think historically for all of our 30 years, our bet has always been on people, right? And so I say that because it feels important in this moment for us to actually really assume some agency, that we can actually do this thing. It's hard, but our history suggests we've done hard things before, and we have always actually managed to move the ball forward toward a more just and more equitable system. And so we want you to know that while this is what we're up to, there is a way we approach working with those that is actually in service of their agency to create self-determined communities. So that one feels important. And I think the other one is that our fates are linked. We really do understand that we need each other. And I'm not even anybody behind in that. We need each other, all of us, right? To actually move and create a more just world. So just wanted to underscore like the value that we come with when we try to do this work. And we'll partner.
Thank you, Michelle. By the way, anytime, slow us down, stop, interject, ask a question. Nope, we'll follow your lead. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Full disclosure, I'm in New York disguised as a Californian, so I can get going pretty fast. But we really intend for this to be both interactive, put some ideas out, ask you what you think about it. But please ask as we go along. Here's what we're up to, and we put our intentions out. Let's see how we got. We want to help you all think together about your leadership and responsibility as a board in this moment. And I know you've been spending a lot of time thinking and talking about that. So we are honored to join the conversation. We want to offer a framework that might help, we hope, or at least guide some of the immediate decisions that are in front of you right now. I know right now there is a fiscal reality that's yes, you get that. There's a fiscal reality that is pressuring, that's my word, pressuring some of the decisions that you have to make. Check with that. And then hopefully there's some time for you to see the conversation, like a couple of agreements on how you're gonna, all of you actually, move forward together. Okay? Even as you might have different opinions, priorities, ideas, we can still move forward together. And we would say, as we get to travel around and work with districts and systems, that's what your people are looking to you for. Is, are we moving together? How's that sound? Yeah, that. Does this board have a set of agreements or norms or anything that you have worked together on and use or find helpful?
We started in order to do a study, right? Doing we work with some more, with maybe Laura.
Well, maybe I'll ask it this way. This was not yeah, please.
So I was just gonna say, we do have a governance handbook.
Okay.
That was significantly updated.
Okay, so that's, and like someone there, yeah. In the work even that you do together or in other parts of your life, is there any agreement or norm that you have found helpful? In having, tough conversations? Is there any norm or anything you want to offer right now? That you think would be helpful for this particular conversation? Okay, I'm gonna turn it on. Yeah. Okay, well,
I think one is be open to the conversation.
okay,
And in my experience, again, this is my moment where friends are meeting friends, right? Friends, not friends, even friends. You guys are meeting like. Knowing them helps you know who I am as well. Being able to be open to the conversation, and my new friends on the board are not afraid of a conversation, just so everyone knows that. But to be open to using your voice in this space.
okay, thanks for the example. All right, so, we're not, yeah, please.
For me, I think it's really important that we agree to disagree.
That's a good one.
Like, so it's just like, I think we're all here, whatever brings us to the table brings us with the same purpose, right? And we're not always gonna see eye to eye, but I think, really focusing on being solution oriented. And knowing that our voice does have a purpose, so it's like, voicing my opinion. And contradicting what everybody else might say, might pop a light bulb with somebody else, or just switch that to, hey, I didn't think of it that way, right? But I think, acknowledging that we all do hold a space, and sometimes these spaces can seem intimidating. And knowing that, we're not disagreeing with the person or, behind it, like, we do all have opinions. So it's like, it's not personal, it's just here, right? And being able to walk out of the space, not taking it with us. So that's important.
Yeah, thank you. I heard a couple in there. One was agree to disagree. Another was don't take it personally. Probably was another good one in there too, but yeah, appreciate all of that.
But I think it's important to understand the power dynamic that's in this room.
Yeah.
And it's important to understand that there are politicians in this room. And this is recorded. So the answers that you get now are not the answers that you would get in closed session when it's not recorded.
Yeah.
And then the mask can drop.
Yeah.
And people can say what it is. For me, the greatest authenticity that board members can hold, the fact of their positionality, is codified. Put it in policy.
Yeah.
If you care about it, then it's gonna be a level of accountability, not just a level of conversation. So that's where I would like to end up if you're having any conversation about racism, anti-blackness, equity, all of the buzzwords, put it in paper.
Yes.
Put your mouth with the policy.
Yes.
Put your values with the policies. Put everything with policy that can then be held accountable, and then people know who you are. And then there's an actual conversation to completion. I'm complete.
Yeah, thank you. And then you can act on it as well, right? Yeah, so we've seen your slate of policies on anti-racism and stuff, so that's super helpful. And then the work is how do we live into that? What's the yeah, how do we act on that? How do we, and then how do we move into that? So thank you for that. Check, all of those things. We're offering you a set of, these aren't necessarily, norms or rules. But they are a set of, behaviors, again, taken from Margaret Wheatley. Which she frames as behaviors that help take conversations to a deeper. So I think we printed that out in your packet, but it's also up here, and I'll just highlight a couple for you. And now, yeah. The power dynamic notwithstanding, that is always present, and so thank you for bringing that up. Acknowledging whether one another as equals is also possible, because everybody's an expert in their own experience. Everybody has opinions about things, everybody has triggers about things, right? So when you're working through, as you know, when you're working through you're working towards tough decisions you have to make. This can be really helpful, right? And so can this, staying curious, right? Curious about each other. That's, I think, connected to the staying open, you know, so. How would I demonstrate that I'm curious about you? How would I demonstrate that? That's a real question. That's questions. What do you mean by that? Where does that come from for you? Why is that so important? Where does that, right? You could ask. And if you don't ask, I'm filling in the blanks about you. It's not always conscious, but I'm doing it. I'm filling in the blanks. And they may or may not be correct. Assumptions and anything. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay. How about this? We actually need each other's help to become better listeners. Slow down. This isn't, we're not living in a world that's having us, everything in your world is telling you to hurry up and make these decisions and get on with it, right? So, except the slow down like you're doing today, quite frankly, it's only going to slow down when you can, oh, God, I didn't think of it that way, as I said, right? Or, wow, did we consider that? You know what I mean. Hard to do. Conversation, natural way humans think together. Come to find out, it's not email or text. Actual conversation. And then how about this one? It can be messy at times. I think you are feeling and sitting and waiting and swimming in that right now as system leaders, all of you. Just offer that. Again, it's aspirational. Sometimes it's helpful if you're having a meeting or a conversation to have a couple of things to refer to. Aspirational. We think if we behave in these ways, we get some good work done, make some decisions, have some fun. Some truthful talk. Okay, offering. Again, take a look at that. And then I'm going to turn it on to Michelle. Take a look at that and tell me if that reflects. Yeah, tell me what you see there. And what that brings up for you.
To me, that brings up a lot of the confusion that there is about in some of our decision making.
Yes.
So it kind of brings up sometimes information that we are predominantly aware of that can't be spread out to the community, that brings up all that ruckus, right, around it. So it just, really feels like we're boxed in. And having like how to, I think, navigate that from, board members in all different directions. We have board members who've been here for many years versus I've been on the board now for a year, right? Trying to find my way from a community member in the red.
Yes.
To now kind of standing at that door.
Yeah.
Because it feels like you're not totally in, and you're not totally out. So it's just that I think confusing for it. You're not sure. But actually,
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Keep going. Anybody else? What do you see here? What's it saying up for?
So I see it as the red squiggly lines are information. And you've got people in a room with the least amount of information that makes the greatest decision. And that is the most dangerous way that you could be. So that's what this brings up for me. So the leadership, good leadership, in my opinion, you're not in a box. You are inside the information. You need to have information to make informed decisions. And if you box yourself in, that box becomes your shield and your protection, and that is not leadership. Leadership is holding the information and holding the accountability of some to that information. To make an informed decision, and the same thing goes on once you make it. I'm complete. Okay.
Not just saying that there's very little linear happening out and around. But we are always looking for a linear response. If we do this, things will happen. Outside of that box, that's not how the world functions, and that's not how information flows. So.
Yeah, about the red squiggly lines. I now see something that I was really thinking about energy. More than information, but I can see that. And then it is actually all connected if we look at it, even though it's not linear. You know, I don't feel like they're saying that. And I see connection.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, I love these, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Just FYI, it's shaped like a brain. If you see the middle line, and then on each side, it's the
I
brain.
have
and
noticed
then-
that. That's a good one. Yes.
Be the best analysis of this, this graphic that we've had as long as I can.
Yep, love it, how energy flows and. Yeah, you know, have you ever seen, does West Country Crossing Unified School District have a org chart? Yeah. It's usually like the board and the superintendent and then these teams and, right. It's helpful, because then you could kind of see it, but, in a living system, like a great, right, and that's actually not how, right, or organizations are like organisms, right, like they're living things, and it's a web of relationships, connections, information flow, or lack thereof, right, yeah. So, yeah, thank you. We're sharing this to highlight, acknowledge, appreciate, and affirm the complexity that you are sitting in, navigating complex challenges. The world is acting on you, on us, right? And I think, yeah, we are asked as leaders to go into this room and come up with this plan. And may have some information and not a lot, but even to, again, we see it all the time, very smart, well-intentioned people going into a room. Certainly if we do A, that will lead to B. Let's go out and tell people now with the plan. Right, and the minute you step out that doorway, then you know that, that's not, no, it doesn't work that way. Again, to acknowledge, and it also feels a certain way when you are leaders in that, acknowledging and affirming that. Because people want certainty from you, don't they? They want certainty. And families in our community or young people deserve it, some level of certainty for sure. And yeah, that's that last tenet around the mess. Okay, thank you for that. Those some really good nuggets out of there. We love us a good metaphor, always. All right. Here is one definition of equity leadership. Those who practice leadership or equity must confront, disappoint, dismantle, and by the way, at the same time, will you energize, inspire, and empower? Does that resonate with the leadership you are? Yes? Yeah. Did anybody put that in your job description? I think that was your job? Yeah, right? By the way, that picture is not Sharon Parks. That is Miss Irma Parker, who we met a few years ago, and she was a parent, in Brooklyn Unified School District. And is a parent leader, started a family resource center. It's just sort of we just have her picture because she's been involved with that. We've seen her do it in real time. And that's no joke, is it? To do those things at the same time. And that's what she signed up for. And that's what we mean by equity leadership. Yeah. And acting from what you care about. What your principles and your values and rights and what you leadership. How about that?
I'll just make one connection to Irma Parker, because I was an educator in Berkeley Unified, and Irma Parker was one of the parent leaders, when I was there. She was a grandmother. She was actually raising her grandson, and chose, because she had the time, chose to lead into the high school. A high school which had at that time, and in some ways still at this time, had deeply, deeply disparate outcomes for young people, right? Berkeley has a huge high school, and very predictable patterns of achievement in that place. And Irma Parker began organizing parents, right? And actually there's a center, if you go there now, she has since retired, right? Like retired 2 times over, but if you go there now, there's a parent center in which she actually both held vision for and is actually writing that is across the community. Or that represents, the parent leaders represent all aspects of that community at the high school. It's an incredible place. What I want to offer though about this, as you all consider what the leadership has to be for you all to navigate the current context that you are in right now, is those words are very, very difficult to actually both embody and demonstrate, right? Like I love this quote. It's like one of my favorites, right? But this is actually hard to do.
Yeah.
And it's super hard if you're trying to do it by yourself. And part of what we can offer is that there is a risk, right? In this moment, with all the things that you all are up against, there is a risk and something at stake for not acting together, right? For not actually sharing some leadership. And so some of both the provocation and the invitation is, what does it look like for us, right? To actually stand and lead in ways that have us tell the truth, right? Both confront and disappoint and arguably, potentially for folks who have been voted in to represent some part of your neighborhood. The disappointing,
Yeah.
right? What I know as an organizational leader of 20 years, like leading and knowing that I'm disappointing somebody is a very difficult thing to stand with. So we're not offering you just like platitude here, right? Leading for equity is like it is not for the faint at heart, right? And inspiring and energizing and empowering arguably feels a whole lot better than confronting disappointing and actually trying to dismantle something that folks have been accustomed to experiencing, right? So part of what we're just here to say is like, those two things are situated that way because those are really ends of a continuum around our leadership. And we can work together ways doing it together. And we say we have a lot of experience and a lot of testimony that suggests when you can do that together, right, you can get there. I mean, kind of like if you wanted to do African mantra, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And what's true is inside that is choice. We get to choose, right? We get to choose every day, every board meeting, every interaction that you have, you get to choose who you're going to be. And so the thing that I actually connect to right now is if this is an offering about what leadership, what equity leadership, what brave, principled leadership needs to look like in for West Contra Costa, right? And we're seeing it in some ways, like the world is hard right now, but we actually are starting to see what power looks like when people are actually sharing a powerful vision and willing to do hard things together, right? And I feel like I'm like, them Minnesotans trying to offer us a little something right now, right? Trying to offer our communities some hope that actually you can be a stand, who can offer and be about principled leadership and move the dial. Right, move back, dismantle barriers or try and keep people from being harmed, right? And so this is hard work. But it's also made easier when you connect it to what you care about. So that's it.
Nice, Michelle. Nice bridge. Thank you for listening to all of that. So give you a rest from my voice. Invitation to turn to somebody next to you. Can I just say a few things out loud? Where does your commitments? There's some reason you said yes to this opportunity. You're committing so much of your time, energy, and heart to this job we call trustee. So please turn to somebody next to you. Where does your commitment to serving students and families in this community come from? And then the staff to do this system. Few things out loud. There's no right or wrong answer. Yeah.
So my commitment will come from, the community and where I grew up from. I came up in school, I came here when I was 12 years old. I think the big part of it that I have decided to stay here in school district and continue to do the work that I do. I think it fulfills me to be part of that, and not only me, but my kids also love the school district. So I think that's my commitment to myself. And put that out there.
Right, like I asked, education, I have.
My dad, my family came here.
But also either fight or
Those are the main decision that she holds this place. There. And this was. Being able to share. Where did your commitment to serving students and then where the cost come from?
Yeah.
It's so serious. So I did be on the kids for a year. I fight for 4 million. So if I would use the see my parents are my that. But just I have to do it. I find it it's
It's just
Yeah, so to.
Yes, I did. Let's do it. Get it.
Let's stop you in 1 minute, all right, 1 minute.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if people do move out and they leave them, you know, and but I think very fulfilling was to grow professionally and just provide that back. To everybody. Yeah, very fulfilling. You know, and you also teach your kids, as you say, that part of you, and then they grew up with that mentality as well of, hey, they just follow the steps. It's good.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. And he has very, it's like,
I have a 23-year-old. I know exactly what you're telling me. It's exciting because once they graduate from high school, sometimes they don't know what to do. They're like, okay, I want to do this, and then they go back to this, and then they go
Pardon
back
the
to that.
interruption, I'm gonna call us back.
Yes.
We can thank you for that.
Well, thank you.
This is when I start sending the snack phone. Thank you so much for that. By the way, you deserve to connect to that now and again, why am I doing this? And I don't mean the, oh my gosh, why did I say yes to, I mean, like, really, where is this coming from for me? Because it's what drives us, right? So you deserve to connect to that and to say it out loud now and again. I appreciate you saying yes to that. We were talking about agreements earlier, and I'm looking at these posters all around this beautiful school, and I'm like, right, that's right and tight. 3 areas, right, we're safe, we're kind, we're responsible, and a couple of behaviors under, that's all you need. Yeah, speaking of agreements. Yeah, sometimes we make things more complicated and difficult than they have to be. So, okay, what you got going, John? You ready? Sure. Would you like to say out loud a commitment or two? Or a why? Let's bring in. Where's your commitment coming from?
Specifically for my role, that I'll consider myself homegrown because I went to school in West Contra Costa, Unified School District. So my commitment was, I'm from this community, I grew up in this community, I understand the community. Because I was that student in those classrooms, and I was in high school while it was one of the worst times for this city of Richmond, where it was games, everything that had to do with it. So it's just, my commitment comes from, I want the time. Yeah. So what do I want for my children and those who come after me?
What was interesting in our conversation is, I was a teacher when Cynthia was in high school. And a lot of the injustice that fueled her, I also saw, and it fueled my leadership in Germany. And so it's interesting that you can come from different positionality, but be fueled by and motivated by the same injustice.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Anyone else want to say theirs out loud?
I'll say mine. I think some of their commitments change or evolve. So, so my commitment to my children's education. I think that's what fueled the way that I started moving, around education. But I think what kept me going was then the effect that I seen that the community had on my children. So just ensure, acknowledging that, I could do this on my own and create, bright futures for my children. But really ensuring that that's as far as I would be able to go in protecting them was just ensuring their future. But acknowledging that in order to really protect my children, I needed to focus outside that box and ensure that the people around my children and every other child or every other adult or every other person in the community that came in contact with my children had those same resources and those same, um, potentially the same things that I thought for my children to safeguard them. So I wasn't just focusing on their, future, but focusing on everybody else's, so that would generally protect my children. As we grew into adulthood, knowing that, my children's, life depended on everyone else.
Yeah.
Because this is the community that we're feeding into, so, that I think my commitment changed from just focusing narrowly into like what it meant for my family, but really ensuring that I was present within the community and then taking it as a whole to be able to feed that into the outer community and ensure that everyone else was also offered the same.
Yeah.
My commitment is service. Having grown up here, my dad moved here in the 40s. And my family settled here in Richmond. I haven't been around since the 40s. But since the 70s, but being able to really see how this community has grown and changed here through the crack epidemic, here through just all just to kind of see it in our schools, and you see what happens within a community in our schools. That's where we see all of our children coming. We see all of the needs that each kind of generation has. That has been powerful for me as an educator, but then also to be able to come back to this space now, being able to serve in a way that it feels more meaningful than any other place and space I've been. I've been in a lot of places and spaces, but this feels the most meaningful. This is home for me and it matters. The stakes are high for this place and space. This isn't something I can walk away from. This is home still. And so, and I don't think I'm in a position I've ever worked as hard as I have these last 8 months in any other job that I've ever had, any other work that I've ever done professionally or personally. And so this is, I feel like I'm all in. You guys get all of me. And it's at a time when a kid has gone through this school district as well and has moved forward. He's starting his first day of work today, you guys. I'm sorry. But being able to just see the impact that public education has, but West Contra Costa had. We keep lifting that up. Good stuff comes out of this community every single year, every single day. And just acknowledging that and knowing that it's not, I used to like tell people, in my 20s, I'd go to a discotheque, a club. And, someone's like, oh, where are you from?
Like, did you just say this go
I
down?
mean, but they would say, where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from Richmond. They're like, oh. And knowing that this is not a throwaway place, this is an amazing place. This is a community of amazing folks who have come into, through, stayed here, or went beyond. And I just want to lift that part up. If I could rep that all day and let kids know that yes, education is your pathway, doing some amazing things in your life. And we are here to support you.
Mhm.
All of us are here. So that's, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. Ah, I love hearing this. Any more?
I think that my commitment has changed over time. I'm going on my 6th year on the board. And when I first started, I came at it from a teacher lens because that's what I was before. Didn't have children in the district. So I was going at it as like, all kids in the district are my kids and I care about them academically. But now that I have children and one of them studies in one of our schools next year, I have now seeing that everything that comes to us, like I try to put my perspective, like how would that affect my child? How would I feel as a parent if that affected when I go to school? Or like, what if my kid was in this classroom? And I think that kind of like what people were saying, like it's very different when you have that shift. But I think it's also important to remember that even if your child's not in that classroom or in that place, it's gonna affect someone else's child, it's gonna affect someone else's family. And I think that's what makes, I think, live the book that you love, live it every time, right? Because you are gonna discipline someone in every decision that you make. And hopefully you'll empower someone as well to try to change the decision, to empower someone. But I think my commitment has shifted to always ensuring that every decision that comes in front of me, it's always with that perspective in mind. And sometimes it's hard to do that when you are opening the door to the sound and the red lines all around you. Because also the loudest voices are sometimes the low voices, and sometimes they have very different perspectives. So.
All the time, they have very different perspectives. So, yeah, we really appreciate you all sharing this, and, it is reminding me, Margaret Wheatley talks about, everybody has a story. Everybody has a story, and everybody wants to tell it to connect to someone else. Right, that's kind of us as humans being human, right? And so one of the kind of the I think both hard, crazy, and extraordinary jobs that you all have is how do you hear the commitments of your families and your young people and the adults in your system? How do you hear their commitments in sometimes their anger, their rage, their complaint of this system, right? Their disappointment and their pain, right? How do you either invite and or how do you hear what their commitments are inside of what they're saying to you and giving? Right? That's something we kind of tune ourselves to be able to do, because they have commitments too, even when they come here and they disagree with you, right? How do we understand what your constituencies across race, across neighborhood, here, across like, how do you understand what their commitments are? Because that's what you're asking them to join you in, right, in this work. So we're gonna, so thank you for that, right? And we wrote your commitments down, and we might not see you for a while, right? But the thing about listening, which you all are, I know that the staff has come forward with some work to actually listen to community, right? Listening is a way to actually understand and hear what people's commitments are. Listening also is an important, like we talk about it as an equity practice, because it's important actually for you to listen to the pain, to the expectation, to the demand, to the upset, to the disappointment, right? And to be responding. But that the listening is an important part of that. So you're listening to each other about where each other is coming from, where your commitments lie, helps to actually make us great. And the truth is, I kind of can't unhear what I heard you say, right? So you carry, and I think one of the best parts of our job, and Lisa and I have been doing this for 20 plus years together, right? Is that we carry thousands of stories at this point, right? Thousands of ways that people have acted extraordinarily powerfully in service of what they were trying to build. And those stories help me be brave when I'm in other places that they're not, right? And so how do you let your stories, your commitments help you stay brave? When you're in these spaces, when you're out in your community spaces, and so there's some power in that. We're gonna keep going with that power, and I'll say this as Lisa, because she knows I will not do well with the clicker. I'll have y'all pull something else.
I also think it's about centering and intentionality.
Yeah.
I center students that don't have a choice. This is their district. They don't have a choice to go to charter school. They don't have a choice to go to private school. They don't have a choice to go to homeschool. This is it.
Yeah.
So when I wake up every morning, my children have choice. I'm a whole teacher. I homeschool, I have choice. I'm not working for those that have choice. I'm working for those who don't have choice, and everybody benefits from that. But it's understanding the structure of it.
That's right.
It's very clear about if you create systems where Black children achieve, everybody achieves. That's the data. Nobody can argue with the numbers. That's the data. When you create systems to where those without choice have the greatest access to benefit and resources and all the things that help them be the best version of themselves, everybody benefits. But I think too many times we work from the outside in instead of the inside out. How do we create an educational system in WCCUSD for those who don't have a choice? And those are our most marginalized students. And those are our Black students. Those are our brown students. Those are our students. Those, we know who they are because the data's there. The courage or the bravery comes in to where you can listen and hear all of the other stuff, but you say centered and intentional about what your role is. And that's where I lead. That's my seat of leadership. And I'm always able to answer any community member, any constituent, any colleague, anybody else with the answer of, what about the people that don't have a choice? How does this look for the people who don't have a choice? What is their experience and exposure going to be because they don't have a choice? And for me, that builds my steps in leadership. I'm complete.
Yes, we coming to it, Director Jamila. I appreciate that. And we actually are coming to it. Now, I want to say, we're gonna move into 3 questions, and in between those questions are gonna be some resources and some provocations to help you think about, and take with you as you all continue to do your good work. Okay. We're gonna start with a place that actually might feel hard for you to start with, which is we're not meeting you all at the beginning of something. Y'all are already all in the thing. Y'all are already y'all on the deep end of the pool, right? We're not meeting you at the beginning of something. We are not assuming that you have not heard equity definitions or you don't know what anti-bias or we're not coming with any assumption like that. We are coming, meeting you exactly where you are right now. And sometimes in the privilege or benefit of getting to slow down a little bit, make some meeting together, do some learning together. We talk about just kind of assessing, like, where are we right now? We're gonna go through 3 questions with some in-between content. And those questions are focused on, like, what are we feeling like we're doing well? And I'll just say, this could feel like a throwaway thing, and I want to encourage you to actually call something forward that you really do feel proud of right now. In your work as a board. The next question that we will go to in between some content is, what are the tensions that are coming up? What are the tensions that we're facing as we try to make the sets of decisions that are in front of us? And then the last one is going to be, how do we want our community, our young people, our families, across all the ways that they're situated, how do we want them to feel and experience the decisions that we've had to make between now and June? So that's the arch of this part. And I want to confess, this is not an anti-bias training. So we will talk about the phenomenon of racism at multiple levels so that we can connect it, right? Because for us, the challenge of leadership is a challenge, the challenge of equity is a challenge of leadership. And so that content is important content for us to know and understand. But the lever, the things that we're gonna be actually looking at and doing some of this assessment is through leadership. Is that fair? So just so that, yeah, we didn't really trick you. But we were like, what if that's not the only thing, like that content of anti-bias is not the only thing that this team should be considering. So we wanna offer you just a little bit more of an expanded field for us to make some meaning and some commitments around. Okay, all right. So the first question is, what are we most proud of in terms of the work we've done together as a team? I'm gonna give you a couple minutes because I want you to really work. Are you feeling either you feel like, okay, this was hard, we did it well, or I feel really proud of this that we're doing. Okay? And it could be a stance, it could be an action, it could be a policy, it could be what are you most proud of right now? You know, we work together as a board. We give you 60 seconds. So I want to invite just a kind of a rapid fire round, right? Everybody throw something out there. What are you feeling most proud of right now in New York?
I'm most proud that we elected our first permanent Black female superintendent to the district. I'm most scared of the exact same thing because of the glass cliff. Because the system tends to have Black females in leadership and have them come in and clean up a mess and then push them over the edge at the same time. And we've seen that in this district over and over and over and over again. So the thing that makes me the most proud is also the thing that keeps me up at night and in the most fear. Because it's not done. It's not done explicit. It's all of the things that we don't see. It's the invisible things that move when it comes to racism and when it comes to Black women in leadership. It's the quiet things that move closer and closer to that edge. That's the thing. And Black women in general, and especially Black women in leadership, we're so busy trying to hold everybody away from the cliff that we don't see we're being pushed over it. So again, my most proud moment as a board member and the thing that keeps me in the most fear. I'm complete.
Yeah. We're expecting a strike, we're all still standing. And then I see in this packet, some things that are important to me. I see the immigration policy. There wasn't only an immigration policy that had tentacles. It went into visitor and outsider policy, it went into use of grounds policy, so there was like a whole bunch of other things that were related to this, which I'm proud of. The non-discrimination, I think we did that too. This one I think is called. So I think we did review this, the non-discrimination. And for the anti-slur policy, we also passed an anti-Semitism resolution, we passed a anti-Arab hate, Islamophobia resolution. And the PLA was interested in a number of value statements that was that. And the field of civic engagement, is also important to. And we'll offer that.
You're busy doing some of your governance work, right? Trying to protect the rights and interests, and place some safeguards for your young people and families. And somebody else, we're on rapid fire, let's hear it. What you have, Director Cynthia?
Me? I gotta echo what, Dr. Director said, our policies in regards to immigration, reinforcing them, being able to groundbreak their speech, providing them a new school, in the near future. Surviving my first drive as a first-time board member.
You want to talk to me, but you got to trustees or the others?
Trustees.
Trustees will be different.
I think the four that I wrote, which stated having a new superintendent who's from the community, changing our policies to really protect our students. I was thinking really about like, what are the systems that we as a body really believe in together? And I think that both those areas, are what I think makes part of our, hear each other and center ourselves in building those values.
I think to me was the process around hiring the superintendent, I think being new on the board. And, really having to go through the process and learning to like agree to disagree, right? And coming to consensus, and really having those conversations of who was gonna be the next leadership and being able to like really have their direct conversations and being, okay. I think that to me, the process of that action from the board was one of the bigger accomplishments I think that we've done. I think, the last board retreat, I think we were able to also really be we were able to be, have conversation. A lot of what you're saying, we were able to kind of bring down some of those walls that are put up and really have conversation. So to me, that seemed like a positive moment with the board, like really getting to understand, each other as human beings. Outside of the direct, board that, working on the dais, right? I think showing up for each other, really, some of those like walkthroughs that we did as a board and supporting each other's action, earlier on. To me, that was, really something that we did good together. So just those things I think that sometimes we don't see because we base it all on the work that we're doing on the diet, but none of the, I think, work that we're doing when we're, just, doing the walkthroughs or, really sharing space. I think to me, those were bigger wins, earlier on that I wish we could kind of get back to. That's all. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to follow up on this policy. Now I know why I think we passed it. We pulled it off the last agenda, but there's an update that's imminent. So. We pulled it off.
Appreciating that,
I think the piece that I've observed with the board and have been a part of is the way that this board shows up for the community. That part, is most impressive to me. I have folks who show up at every folks who, are there to support student performances, community, I mean, it's the way that this board shows up to support is amazing. That to me is something that I'm very proud of. It matters. It matters. Yeah.
Thank you. Very easy. Yeah. Thank you. You can do it, that's fine. I appreciate that. So I appreciate that, because all the things that you all said are both seeds and examples and places that you can go back to as you continue to do your work, right? As it gets harder and harder, as you have some memory and some muscle, right, for doing really powerful things together, and you've created a number of policies. We've been looking at your things, and just in preparation for being here with you, you named and assumed some considerable leadership already, right? To advance equity in policy by stating publicly what these commitments are from yourselves as a district, and not just as a district. Like, y'all name yourself. Like, can somebody read that? There's a line in here.
The board strives to.
The board strives.
Oh, the board strives to uncover unconscious biases and practice anti-racism as individuals and as board members. Keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, we challenge ourselves to persist through the discomfort necessary for growth and learning, to deepen our listening and our examination of racism and oppression, and to develop strong understanding of how our personal experiences and feelings fit into the larger picture of racism and oppression.
Who does? We have not seen a board put that out in that way and make that public commitment. Good for you all,
As leaders.
as leaders.
Right, and the system really talks about the system will, we will, right? But for you all to kind of name yourselves explicitly as like, this is our work, and this work is in service of the things that we feel about advancing for our community. That is incredible, and you've done that, and we see your intention, even in your impact statement, your intention right now, right? For all of the redesign and all of the hard choices that are imminent for you all. Your want to make those choices, make those decisions while centering equity for those in your system who are least well served, right? So we see you naming and operating and moving in these commitments. And the one thing that we wanted to just place this here as something that might be helpful. And I just realized I didn't put the full 2 pages. So we'll get you this sheet, because it also has some really good guiding questions, right? One concept that we operate with to support leaders to have a broader analysis of the ways that we talk about systemic oppression. You can kind of insert any ism here. You can insert racism here. You can insert sexism here. You can insert, right? You can insert any ism here, because we think that that oppression is actually a social phenomenon. But it's important as equity leaders that you understand how it operates and how things reinforce each other to get to some outcomes. And so part of and in some ways it's like trying to see your whole system as a system of interactions, right? And so we see systemic oppression operating at multiple levels, at the individual level, at the interpersonal level, at the institutional level, and then it's reified at the structural level. Right? And so one thing that I would ask you is, as you just kind of take a look at what's up there on the board, is like, what do you notice? And at what levels are your policies targeting? You notice about what's up there. What are the levels your policies are targeting? And where do your conversations as a board tend to focus? What do you notice about this? And is it helpful in any way to kind of think about, the impacts of, racism, or other forms of bias in this way? Yeah. Good notice. What are your policies targeting? What levels are your policies targeting?
We have a lot of racist policies. We just have a lot of racist policies. We are 5 cities, unincorporated areas. We are huge, and with that, we are zip coded.
Yeah.
You will get a different experience if you cross one street from another street. So you can go from one zip code over from Hercules to Panola and get a different education. You can go from El Cerrito to Kennedy or Richmond and get a different education. We are zip coded, and we are zip coded because the policies and the procedures and the practices and the quote unquote tradition and all the stuff is still here. So when we start to attack those policies and procedures and protocols, even the statement that you read when we were like, this statement needs to be read at all of our meetings that we shared, it was pushback, just from words. There was pushback. So I think that to dismantle what exists in WCCUSD is the challenge, but it's the challenge because even that dismantling comes with racism. Well, we're gonna make sure this is before this is, and this is gonna be different, and this is gonna be different, but it's all under the umbrella of change. But if that change is through a lens of racism, because it's who's gonna scream the loudest? Who do we need to appease the most? How do we, and again, we have leadership in place now who is actively tearing that down. But in that tear down, there is the push. There's the pushback. There is the not me, but them. You don't touch me, but touch them. We'll do it over there, but don't do it over here. It has to be done, but I don't want it to affect me and my kids. Or I don't want it to be over in this area. So all of that sits on her shoulder. And the problem is the board doesn't make it easier. So when we set a vision, if we don't support the implementation of that vision, then we are just doing we're gonna talk about it and not be about it. And that's where all of it then turns into pointing fingers at the closest people, and that's the district or the superintendent. Instead of holding the accountability where the vision is set. If we want to be an anti-racist district, which is what the board passed, was an anti-racist, we are headed towards the journey of anti-racism. Then we have to hold the accountability, we have to hold the vision, we have to be able to step in front and take the hit and take the bullet.
Yeah.
Because it's on us.
And I would imagine part of that work is for you all to actually be holding some shared analysis about what you think is actually, right? Have to be able to talk about, right? These are, well, they're political seats, these are politicized crimes. You're dealing with very racialized outcome and experiences for families and students. How do we actually talk about what we think is at play and where we might actually be supportive, in either dismantling something that is really harmful, right, to young people and or families who are already being harmed in the system. How do we talk about that, right? One of the reasons that we use this is so that we understand, like, multiple things are always at play all the time, right? And where our hopes are for our policy, which largely, like some of the policies that we reviewed are at the institutional level, right? You all are like talking about that. You have an anti-bias policy, which often has us talking about things at the individual and interpersonal level. We offered you there's a reading here that we strongly encourage because I think it helps to have an understanding of how you can start with this notion of unconscious bias, but that's not sufficient to explain what's happening in your system and the outcomes and the experiences that people have. That's not sufficient, right? It's like understanding that unconscious bias, those things matched with like structural racism, like all of those stereotypes and assumptions and associations that we've all learned. Oh, right? There's no getting away from unconscious bias. That's something that the brain does. Like that bias is a discriminating factor for literally for our survival. But we can mitigate the harmful effects of the unconscious bias that we've learned, either through stereotype, either through association, either we've learned that stuff. And we can have a training. There's like a whole sets of things to actually know how this operates, so that you're not having this conversation just casting blame. You're trying to have this conversation in a way that helps you understand this is how these things operate. But this is how, if we let that operate, if we don't have a way to analyze this together, we can in fact reproduce the kinds of outcomes that we're trying to change and make and by not examining more fully the impacts of institutional policies. We thought this was going to change. Did we check? Did this in fact make anybody's experience and condition better? Or did we worsen something inadvertently? And we've got to actually talk about that so that we can undo it. When Superintendent Cotton earlier said, this work is not a straight line. It's not a straight line, right? And setting policy doesn't guarantee equity. You all already know that, right? So it means we have to be constantly watching, seeing, calling on the data, right? Looking for evidence that we're moving in the right direction and or correcting things that have unintended consequences, right? But we can't do that if we can't have some good discourse about what we think is operating, right? Without taking that, without taking that too personal, right? We have to be able to have an analysis so that we can actually help people do something different, right? And so this was just an attempt to kind of offer a more holistic frame about this. It's not like unconscious bias or racism or one thing or another. Like all of that is operating at multiple levels of the system. And our work as equity leaders is to get more acute in our discernment about what's happening. And so that we can actually talk about it here and make movement.
I would also add that Lens is a kind of a tool you can use in real time. So trustee Lenore, you just did it earlier when you talked about the students who don't have choice, right? And Lens is it's kind of a filter. You kind of look through and ask a couple of questions so one question when you're using this lens is to say, who is going to be, let's play it out a couple of ways. Who is going to be most advantaged and perhaps disadvantaged by this thing we're about to do, by this policy we're about, right? So you can do a little anticipatory thinking in real time. It's kind of a discipline to ask those kinds of questions about everything you do and then do it and then watch what happens. So you don't have to wait until something happens and realize, oh, that's not what we're going. You can do it. Who is going to be most advantaged and disadvantaged by this thing we're about to do, this policy, right? And it'll give you some insight and some direction.
That's helpful.
Sorry?
That's helpful.
We will make sure that we include the sheet. There's some good strategies and practices there on the sheet. So we're gonna move on. Remember, we're just offering you a set of things that can help you in your work together, right? And we're happy to come back and be with you, but we're gonna keep moving. I'll keep moving. All right. So this next exercise is going to allow us to chart some things, stand up, and put some things somewhere as soon as I get that going. Again, we know that we're not meeting you all at the beginning of things. You are like in the deep end of the pool. And so one of the things that we're going to ask you, give you just a couple minutes to think. What are the tensions that are coming up? What are the tensions that are coming up? What are the tensions that will or already have make some of the immediate work that's in front of you and the decision making really challenging? All right. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. I passed around some markers. There's some paper. You can use the big Post-it or you can use some smaller Post-its. But one tension per Post-it, right? One tension per Post-it. So I'm just gonna give you a couple minutes. You can do as many or as little as you are feeling right now, but one tension per posted, okay? Yeah.
That's the race thing, but
And you only want the tension.
yeah.
Just the tensions. As opposed to.
Well, the rest of it is like,
I don't know.
I know, no, but it was the.
There's something about a will experience, so you don't want the.
Well, not that yet, not that yet, no, just the tensions right now. What are the tensions? One tension per posted. It's gonna give you 2 minutes. Oh, no, you do it, please, staff, add your analysis, what are the tensions? That's gonna make the immediate work and decision making in front of us more challenging.
I want to play.
Like you. Can you repeat? Please.
Oh, just here, got it.
That's first information.
Yeah. Yeah, we know where information is. Yeah. So it's a good regarding. Don't need a ton of tension, so. That's 2 minutes, so I'm gonna, ask you, go ahead and finish that thought, and then we're just gonna introduce you to one more thing. One more, I think tool that you could use as an analysis to help you in your decision making, and problem solving, and then we're gonna do one last thing before we give a farewell today. So. Here. Alright. So you have named and have identified some tensions. This model, has been hugely, useful to organizational and system leaders, as they think about how they are actually advancing change. And it's a living systems model. It's not mechanistic, it's not linear, it doesn't suggest like, if I tell you to go do something, everything, right? You're gonna go do it. It helps you have an analysis of your system. And where things might be missing, where you might actually wanna focus some attention. And it is likely that some of the tensions that you have written will actually align to some of these areas. So this is called the 6-7 circle model. It suggests that the organizational work of change. What was that? You know,
That's exactly.
oh. Sorry, time to be like 6-7. That's so funny. I'll have to like go back and do a whole analysis of this because this is a long-standing organizational model, and it suggests that there are that as you are trying to actually move your organizations to be more effective, more just, more equitable, right? That there are aspects in this living system. Some of them are technical. There's technical stuff that has to be done. And you'll see it like program strategies and structures and processes and all that stuff around side, like all of that operates in the technical domain, right? But under the green line, this model used to affectionately be called above and below the green line, right? That there's work that we have to do in organizational change that's both above and below the green line, right? And that's kind of the blue, the light blue kind of represents the stuff that's like less visible, right? It suggests that there's relational or cultural things that have to be tended to in your organization in order for you to have some success, right? And that's where relationships live. It's where information and information flow lives. And now, remember, we're holding an organizational lens, like across your organization, an identity lens, right? Who are we? Who are we as an organization, right? And what's our relationship to one another? What's our relationships across our interest holders in our community? What's our relationship to the things we say we're trying to do, right? And so as you take another look, as you take a quick look at your tensions, the exercise here is for you to potentially align where your tensions might live in one of those, where your tensions are on one of those circles. Does that make sense? All right. So you take a look at there, take a look at your tensions again. And what I'm gonna ask you to do is get up and place your tensions under the circle that you feel like it best aligns with.
And truth is, they might go one number.
They absolutely may. Yeah. Okay. Place them there, and then I'm just gonna have you take a look at them. We're not gonna, obviously, we're not gonna solve all of them today. This may be a way for you to think about how you might begin to address some of the differences, right? Water below the green line. It's a place of norms, it's a place of power dynamics, it's a place of commitment and value.
We're not sharing information.
It's a place of mental model, right? Information's not flowing well, what do we do? They just make up stories. Okay, so how this, right? So we make up something in the absence of information, we make up what we think reality is. So where would you place these tensions? This part. Take a read of one another's. As you look, we will make sure that we take pictures of these so that you all have them part of your work, not taking your attentions with us home. We were on the big one.
You got it. Email.
In about 5 years.
I use it. Yeah.
And out of all these, I mean, I don't think. So, one of those things. That you have to have, because you need to decide. And then you believe the truth. Mental healing, you have the. Look at all those relationships. Encourage it. To stay on your mindset. Yeah, yeah. Now we could, I thought that was gonna struggle, because that's the same thing, but this is all, it was really that. Yeah. So I was like, okay, ready to look at it. I came back to you. Yes.
We're holding it.
15 minutes. 12:59. Start shutting down. It's like it's time to go. No, they used to flip the lights on at a club. Last call, that's the last call on alcohol.
Well, I'm gonna invite you to, I'm gonna invite you to come on back to the table. We are gonna get you all back these tensions in alignment with the 6-7 circle model, and I'm just gonna invite Superintendent Howard to say, like, this, you all will see this again, right? And to kind and potentially to kind of work with this process to help you maybe address some of the things that you all look at and see, some of the things that you've written down here that actually feel like these are gonna be really high leverage in order for us to make some progress together. So we're gonna leave you with those, but really invite you to bring those back so that you can actually work with them. Okay?
Because you want, it's kind of like a diagnostic of the
That's right.
system, like
That's right.
where. Obviously, by the way. Tensions, we're using that on purpose, because tensions Problems are to be solved, tensions are to be managed. Right, and so, and that requires leadership, just to say. But it's if you go in here. Right, we think we don't have a structure for that, you put a lot in the structure, we don't have a structure for that. We can go in there, it just gives you a little bit like, a little more precision about where to go in. Caution, you cannot go after relational challenges with a technical fix. Does that resonate?
Yeah.
And that's often where we go. People have something to say about our plan or our policy, well, we'll just tell them what it is. It's like, no, we know what it is, and we still have, you see what I'm saying? Okay.
Yeah.
Check.
Mm-hmm. All right. Uh-huh, okay.
Okay, we have it is 10 minutes left, and I'm gonna show you this quote from Jonathan Chapman. No, we're gonna give you these slides afterwards, so we'll make them in. I think we wanna leave with one final framework, and this is a framework for decision making. There's we printed out a primer for you, you can read more about it. Is anybody familiar with targeted universalism, the concept of it? Yeah, it came out a lot of, there's a lot to read and unpack about it, so I'll give you the very brief overview of it in our 12 minutes. As has been stated several times, and we know this, success is not a random act. Right? It's orchestrated, it's structural, it's systemic. There is a predictable set of we have structures that are doling out an unequal distribution of benefit and burden, the results of which are patterned and racialized. Bam, that is just, that's the truth, patterned and racialized. That's because our systems are doling this out, right? Okay. Because of that, if you use, I guess, another sort of lens, I keep going like this because you all live on the balcony, right? And then you go down to the dance floor with your walkthroughs and you're listening to teachers and like, so you're kind of going back and forth, but when you come up to the policy level, you're looking at your system as a whole, right? Okay, so when you use when we use language of structural racialization, we're coming up and looking at the arrangements. How are things connected? Where are the linkages, or where are the linkages broken, right? And what are our policies and practices, norms, ways of working together? What are they actually producing? Not what we wanted them to be, but what are they actually producing? Because folks are situated differently relative to opportunity, zip coded, right? I have to go to this school. I live in this neighborhood. I have to take 3 buses to school. I have to help get my little sister to school first, and then, right? All of that is about where you are situated relative to quote unquote the good school, the after school tutoring, right? Are you with me? Not okay. So that's situatedness is just a term for to recognize we are situated differently relative to opportunity. Right? So this sort of frame and way of thinking about it is called targeted universalism. Goes like this. Our jobs in as leaders and trustees in school districts is to tend to the experience and achievement and success of all students. That's why we set universal goals. Yes, standards and goals. Everybody. Because not everybody is situated the same way towards those goals, the targeted part is that we need to know who doesn't have choice. And the way we frame it is Your equity work is really about having honest talk and keeping an eye on who are our most vulnerable students. Whoever they are. Whoever they are and whatever data you're looking at, who are our most vulnerable students? Arguably, in many systems, your students with special needs are amongst your most vulnerable, right? Patterns might be racialized, they might be by neighborhood. However that is, we need to keep an eye on who are our most vulnerable students, right? Because we've already set universal goals for everybody, but we know we have vulnerable students who are situated maybe furthest from opportunity to achieve those goals. That's the targeting part. Universal goals, everybody, not targeted. We're not targeting people. That's important. Nobody wants to be on the receiving end of that. We're going to target our attention, our care, perhaps some of our resources towards particular groups of students because we know they're most vulnerable. Both and. Everybody, and because we're saying this is for everybody, some of our young people are furthest from those goals. That is a wholly insufficient explanation of targeted universalism, so I encourage you to read more about it. And LaShawn, yeah.
Yeah, I'll just offer a really quick example, because two things that was said are critically important. Not targeting young people, not targeting the Black children. I'm trying to understand where Black students in our system, where they are, what they're experiencing, and I'm targeting my strategies, which might be prioritizing a resource. It might be actually, and it might have something to do with pace and urgency and resource, right? But what I'm gonna do is target that strategy based on where they are. I have to know something about where they are, right? Not just the data. I kind of need to know something more, right? Because there's a lot of assumptions that we can make by just looking at the data. So you actually, some part of your strategy might be that I have to go find out a little bit more about the experience that these people, young people are actually having, right? Less my strategy that I choose based on where I sit and what I see may not actually be meeting the need, the real need that they're having, right? So really quick, like different metaphor is if you all are harbor masters, you all are harbor masters. You are sitting at a dock, right? You're like looking out at the ocean, there are people coming in. You are at the dock, at the shore, and 200 yards out, you see a ship, you see a boat, and you see people hanging on to a plank, right? The ship, maybe the engines failed, there might be 100+ people on the ship, the engines failed, so the ship can't get to the shore. But there's power on the ship, there's people there. The rowboat doesn't have any oars, there's some people in the rowboat, but they're in the boat, don't have any oars. The other, where you see some planks, you see wood and heads, like the boat has capsized. And people are in the water hanging onto a plank. What is your universal goal, harbor masters? What's the goal?
Bring everybody in.
Everybody in, and everybody in what? Safely, right? The universal goal is to get everybody to the dock. Yes? Well, what might I do? What is a targeted strategy based on how I see people situated? What am I gonna do? What might I do first? What might I prioritize? Who's gonna get that? Huh? The folks who are in the water, right? I'm gonna go get the folks in the water, right? Because I can't now, and like really get this, because this is so critical. I'm not gonna take my binoculars off and be like, well, now I don't know why we told those folks don't buy that book. I'm not gonna actually blame the people who are in the water. I'm gonna go get the people out of the water. Yeah, I'm messing, right? Now, here's the thing. I have limited resources too. I may have one boat. So we might go first to what? Get the people who are in the water, right? I'm gonna go get the people in the water. But when I go to get the people in the water, I might drop off the mechanic because that might be engine failure. We are going to bring everybody to the shore, right? But how and when I do that really matters. And it depends on our assessment of who is literally the most vulnerable or in way of danger, or you see what I'm saying, right? And so targeted universalism has us step back and say, okay, we have these goals and we know that people are situated differently. And if I prioritize this, it does not mean that the rest of the folks are not going to actually be brought to shore. We're not going to leave anybody out in the ocean, right? But we have to understand the impact of somebody hanging out on the plane, dangling in the water, right? We have to really talk about and make commitments about going to get them first. I'm still gonna handle the ship. And I'm still gonna give some oars and some paddles to the people in the rowboat so they can get on it. And so as we talk about prioritization and as we make these hard choices, right, with the limited resources and maybe sometimes limited capacity, we make them clear. We're gonna be unequivocal about the universal goal. And the universal goal, by the way, needs to be powerful and compelling. And the thing that we know, we don't like, that's where we're gonna be, what did Trustee, what you said earlier, we're gonna be 10 toes down because the universal goal is that powerful for us, right? So I'm clear, none of us are gonna read that. But our strategies, we gotta actually work with those, right? And those are gonna change. And the people on the planet, that's just a metaphor for the numbers of folks who are not being served in your community, right? Those are sometimes gonna change too. Right, so how can we actually work with this thing in a way that gets us where we want to go?
And as you read more about targeted universalism, you'll read about something called the curb cut effect. That, which goes like this, Americans with Disability Act, curb cuts are on, right? That was meant for, right? For folks in wheelchairs. Guess who else benefits from those curb cuts? Who else benefits from a curb cut? People with strollers, people pulling a grocery cart.
People.
You see what I mean? So it's when you target, yes, right, that's called the curb cut effect. When you target, again, your care, your attention, your resources, some innovative strategies towards particular groups, it will benefit everybody. It will. Now, sometimes you have to convince people of that, right? But it's true. It just is true. So we encourage you to, lean into this notion of targeted universalism. I think it can be I know you're sitting in front of decisions about collapsing schools and moving students to, it might help you with some additional considerations around those really tough decisions.
Really specifically around that middle school.
Yeah.
Redesign.
We have 2 minutes, so do we wanna extend for a couple minutes or? Are we? Okay.
How much do you think you have?
How much time, if we want to, so this is a public board meeting, so we need to make a decision, do we want to extend our time? Or do we want to close now? So the question that Board President Inyana is asking the board, we'll ask you guys as well.
A couple minutes.
Do you have some time to extend and then the board has to take action on extending the meeting? If they're available.
Yeah, if you can extend 15 minutes, we can do a proper closing, a proper thoughtful close. Thank you.
I'll move that we extend by 15 minutes to 1:15.
Okay, so we have a motion to, extend for 15 minutes, second by Regular, moved by Gonzalez Hoy.
Yes.
Hernandez,
Yes.
Regular,
Yes.
Smith votes, and then Yana's a yes, so we are, extending for 15, so 1:15. And you may continue.
Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm sorry, continue, I don't know, you were saying something.
I was saying middle school, but I'm gonna let them do this because we can also pick up this is an ongoing conversation. So keep going. Do what you're gonna
You
do.
sure you don't wanna make your point?
Okay, my point. So as we think about targeted universalism, when I talked to LaShawn and Lisa about today, I was looking for something that presented a problem of practice and allowed us a way to kind of get through what are we doing? What are we trying to accomplish? Because of that, our middle school redesign is in our face right now. It is a decision-making. It is gonna draw a lot of energy and emotion and positive and negative around that. That is the targeted universalism. We need to rethink our middle schools. We needed to do that before we started having budget challenges. We need to rethink our middle schools. We have urgency now. And so now it's looking at this as a problem of who's in the water, who doesn't have oars, who's sitting on a cruise ship, but the engine's broken down. What are we gonna do? And that's really that, just to give some context. And that's also why I had everybody come out, just to give that context and that understanding of this bigger issue and problem. And so then how do we thoughtfully and quickly, as this board making as a decision-making body, how will that move forward? And what can we do?
Yes.
That was kind of the frame for this and what I was hoping us to get to. But again, none of this we're gonna get to and solve in a day, in an hour, in 2 hours. We've gotta but we do have to solve this. Solve, is that it?
Or
No.
decide, you have to make you have a decision in front of you, it doesn't mean you can't make the decision. As you're making that decision, lay it out. Who is gonna be most impacted or disadvantaged? Because we have to make the decision. If you can name that, then you can say what kind of care, attention, love, resources, help do we need to put there as we make this decision? See, it's not don't make that decision, lay it out and do some anticipatory thinking. What's gonna happen next? What do you think is gonna happen next?
And I think we have to be clear about what kind of cup people we are. If you have a cup and I have a cup, and you're looking at mine to see if I have anything, or do I see if I have more than you, and I'm looking at yours to make sure that you have something, we different. So we gonna have to figure out what kind of cup, what kind of district are we? Am I looking at you to make sure you have something? And are you looking at me to make sure that I have more than you? Who are we? Because those are different types of leadership, those are different type of approaches, those are different type of things. And I think to Superintendent Cotton, she said we're one WCCUSD. That means I'm looking to make sure you have something. It doesn't mean that you looking to make sure you have more than me. So we have to be clear in this universal targetism of what we're doing is we're making sure that people have something.
Yeah.
Do you have something? Do you have something? And then to your point as the harbor master, we're understanding you ain't got a whole lot. That's not a lot of sustainability that you're gonna have. It's not gonna nourish you. That's not gonna fill you up. That's not gonna get you to where you need to go. I'm gonna pull more in. But we are in a cycle as not one WCCUSD that we look over and be like, she has more than me.
Yeah.
That's not all right. That's not fair. That makes me sad. That we go by feelings instead of the facts. Everybody got something. Now let's make sure that those people who don't have as much as they need or don't have access to getting more, that we take care of and we protect. I'm complete.
I was wondering, responding to Superintendent's issue about middle schools, if you could put it a little bit more in perspective for folks. What I understand is that our goal, if we look going by the example, if our goal is to improve middle schools and we're driving by our financial picture, by low test scores, by small schools and lack of sports, spread out resources. What staff is presenting as a possible way to go and rescue the people in the water is ensuring there's more resources for our middle schools, ensuring that we can centralize how we support every kid, not just the ones that are benefited by a small class size in a cave. Like, am I understanding that example right? Okay, just want to make sure that.
They'll mean it better.
Yeah, and I
Can you
think-
bring it back to LaShanta?
Yeah, and I think it's also, you're understanding that right, and it's also about, I mean, if we take the example of who are our most vulnerable students and who are we really trying to serve,
if we're able to get our students into these middle schools that we then redesign and push in the resources, the base level resources at all of our middle schools, access to supportive services, access to electives, access to programs that aren't available in these siloed areas, we would then be better able to equip all of our sites with, again, that base level of support so that our students who are furthest from opportunity would now have access that they would not have if we continue to structure our model this way.
And the staff, oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I, you know, the staff, I've been involved with Soskin for years. It is a really nice community. And she just really hard, you know. When I had my first child, I'd go in there and their staff would go, you need a room. You've been on the road all morning. Come have this room to go pump. And they're wonderful, wonderful humans. The staffing that they will get next year isn't what they have this year. So what I don't think people understand when they picture the change is the reduction of resources for every site. They're picturing the status quo. And so versus LaShante's talking about that boat engine failed, there's people in the water. We're gonna make a better boat that has something for everybody.
I think it's all too about communicating, right? Communicating this expectation to the greater community. Because I think doing our due diligence means also not just being in spaces where we can have these conversations. Like right now, we have that direct line of communication to like, hey, I have this doubt, what does this look like? But I think the community has been sold options, right? This isn't something, the K-8 model that we've done for 50 years. This is something that was sold to the community as a better model to support student achievement, to support student education. And now we're coming back and saying, hey, you know, that model that you guys adopted that we threw on you with the week's notice, well, we're taking it out the same way we're putting it in with the week's notice. So I think those things have an effect on the community that we're trying to serve. So it's all about not the pushing from an angle of I don't understand, to really communicating of, hey, you know, we know what this looks like and we are doing good. By maybe acknowledging, hey, this isn't, you know, this is where we're at. We're not able to service and saying the truth, saying our truth, right? Or like, we're not able to service these schools the way they are. And in order for really to be really able to ensure our students' education and the service that they're entitled to, this is the model that we now need to move to for all students. So I think it's how do we communicate that to the greater community, because we've done so many changes and we can't keep selling models that we're now asking people to flip over to. And, you know, what is this gonna be? Something that, you know, a new board comes into, you know, we talked about it earlier, like somebody came in, they decided to change stuff, now you're here, you know, you're wanting to change, like, depending on who's sitting here, that model should still, we should still have a follow through the consistency of what that looks like. So, and then hopefully you'll be able to get shot.
Yeah, I'm appreciating that, and it does go back to, I want y'all to work, because it really does go back to the 6 to 7 circles. Where do you actually need to give attention as you are designing and managing this change process, right? And so if the information, the communication, sometimes the mea culpa, like, ooh, we got this wrong, community. And here's where things are, right? Like the clear and transparent communication about data, about what's happening. But what I would just encourage as we like close with this quote, you all to not lose the opportunity to re-engage your community about the vision that you are trying to make possible now, right? This is not, it potentially is a model issue, but I'd say make sure that you're working, that universal goal has to be compelling for a reason, right? Your community has to believe if we're gonna give up this stuff because y'all are saying it doesn't work or we don't have enough money and you please, I either want to contribute or you please tell me what it is that's gonna be better. How is my young person going to be better served, better prepared, better, right? What is that goal? right? And so to not get caught in the strategy, because the strategy, right, the what we have to change is not the end game. That's just a mechanism. What are you doing all of this redesigning to ensure for your families and your community? That you have to communicate that as loudly and as compellingly as you have to the strategies that y'all are gonna have to use and the decisions that you're gonna have to make in order to get there. So the communication is a right key. And we talk about that as like, how you lead the change is the change. How you lead the change is the change. So we were asking you, we skipped over asking you, like, how do you want people to experience this? At the end of the day, this board, this superintendent in this moment is gonna be ushering in some fast change. What is the experience that you want people to have with that at the end of the day? And being happy backwards from that intention, that shared intention about what you all want. So we will leave you with this one, that leaves the rest of you.
Was you said it? The greatest challenges to creating ecosystems of care in which every young person thrives will not be solely technical. Instead, the challenge before us is how to intentionally design change efforts in ways that weave people, their fears and pain, as well as their hopes and dreams, together in service of a shared vision for human thriving. How we do the change is the change.
Thank you all so much.
Well, I also want us to be really honest when we go in front of people. And if you have people hanging on to the folks that are not well served because they don't move, and we have all of these things, we also have to be, we can be the harbor master, but if we the one that pushed you in the water, and we the one that didn't resource your boat, and if we the one that left you over there without board,
Yeah.
a lot of people ain't gonna follow that. So we have to be honest with that first, and then ask for that trust through the transparency, through the honesty, but the community at some point will be a fool to follow the harbor masters that put their children in the water.
That's right.
So I think that that's part of this too, and sometimes apologies don't fix what betrayal has created.
Yeah.
I'm complete.
Right, yeah, that'll happen over relationship and it will take time, right? You all, this will take time. The engagement strategies that I know that your team is lining up is gonna take a level of courage, a level of staying with, a level of you all being in relationship. And yeah, sometimes the apology is it's not gonna match the impact of what has happened. And so you'll have to keep coming back, right? You have to keep coming back to community. So
And in doing so, this is the New Yorker and me talking, you can't ask for trust, but you can demonstrate your trustworthy. You can demonstrate that through all the things we're talking about, the listening, the transparency, the communication, the thoughtful strategy, the shared stance, all of those things demonstrates. And by the way, communicate some confidence. This is a hard time, but this ain't nothing but a thing. We got this. We got this. We're gonna move through this with some care, some honesty. some
It's more than a
strategy,
thing.
all of
It's a big thing, but there is hope. There is hope, and that's the piece. Guadalupe, you frequently talk about, well, there's hope. I'm like, there's hope.
You are gonna make me
There's
put
a
a quote about hope.
How?
You gotta quote for hope.
Corporate hope.
There we go. Bishop King Lucas about hope.
Can we do? People speak of hope as a business delegate. Ephemeral being made of whispers and spider webs. It's not. Hope is dirt on her face, blood on her knuckles, and the grit of cobblestone in her hair. And she just spat out a tooth, and she got back up and went up another go. That is the kind of hope that we need, this persistent, relentless hope. We must have the courage to love the hell out of this world, because love is the only thing that can save us. And with that, we are closing out our meeting at 1:15. I call this meeting to adjourn. Thank you for joining us at 15 p.m.
And
Thank you. Thank you, Trustee.
Yeah.